Right, all right. Welcome back to the Inspired Idiot Show. Welcome Daniel to the show. How's it going over there in Transylvania today?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Kelsey. Very glad to meet you finally and being on your show. Thank you very much for the invite. And yeah, let's talk.
Yeah. So you and I initially connected on Substack, and we connected over having some shared interests around permaculture and regenerative practices. But I want to get you to explain if you had to explain to like a sixth grader what you do, what would you say?
Okay. I think the most and easiest way to explain is in the follow sentences. Most of your audience probably heard about regenerative agriculture, regenerative projects like regreening the desert projects, stuff like that. Very few people know that the same natural principles that are applied to regreen barren dirt to soil, they apply also to humans because we are acting similar, obviously not the same, but very similar, like soil, like land, like dirt, actually. We also have our cycles, our principles, our ecosystem around us, and that is the premise I've used to make and to create my coaching program.
Okay. So you've built a coaching program around the concept of permaculture and regenerative practices.
Yes, but that was not an idea. I was waking up one day in the morning. That has obviously a long history. I told you I'm 58 years of age, so I have a little bit of experience in life. I am on my own feet as an entrepreneur since age 25. So I have also a little bit experience. What does it means to lead a business, to found a business? I always had much of respect for the small businesses. I'm much more inclined because I know that a small team is actually much harder to lead and much harder to push through all the difficulties of business leadership than huge teams where every 10th or 12th person has a boss and the possibility to lean on. It's a different world. I never wanted to be big business. I had a maximum of 12 employees at my highest point in business life, and that was absolutely enough for me. I never wanted more.
Hmm. Okay. So
And
I do, I oh go ahead.
yeah, no, please.
I do want to ask you more questions about kind of what brought you to doing the work that you do. But for somebody who maybe has never heard the word permaculture before, what can you explain like what problem are you actually solving for the clients that you work with?
Okay. So everybody knows what a gardener does. A gardener grows flowers, vegetables, fruit trees, whatever that is. He produces food. The permaculture designer, he designs the garden to let the production be the most easiest and the most natural way to do it. So we are as permaculture designers, we start with blank paper and a pen, and we go for hours to observe a garden. Where should the garden be? That is our zone with a fence, whatever. And then we start with the planning. And we also examine very in detail what gives the land, what soil is available already, what plants are available already. The soil always shows with the plants who grow there already what is missing in that soil. So the plants, we usually call them the weeds, but the weeds, every weed has a function, every weed has something to show you. So there is a specific mineral probably missing, or there is too much water. It's wet. It's or it's too much clay. Whatever it is, we find it out with what is already there. And that is the starting point.
Okay. And so with the like the program that you run today and the type of clients you work with today, is it purely based around like actual physical permaculture and gardening? Or I know that you also work with entrepreneurs through your program, right? So how do you apply those concepts of permaculture to the other areas of your business?
Very good question. Very good. The permaculture part of my personal history is what led me study human behavior. So I work today more, let's say 90%, with people, with their businesses, with their personal struggles, and only 10% maybe actual gardening and planning and there are other gardening planners who are way better than I am because they have more experience in only that field. I'm trying to concentrate on humans because it's a very interesting part of life and connections between humans and their personal ecosystem is always a very surprising and very interesting story to hear of.
Okay. Yeah. I am already kind of envisioning the overlaps between garden permaculture and business and life permaculture. But when
Yeah.
you think about those clients specifically who come to you or come to your program, what are they coming to you for?
Honestly, experience sounds stupid, I know, but you know, my story started as a professional gardener. Then I made the business administration. I worked in insurance, in marketing, and so on, finance, forex trading, even. And with all that knowledge that accumulated, at one point we decided that is not the way to go. That is hustle. That is this more and more and more and even more. I think from nature, I'm a lazy guy. I always find the way of least resistance. And accumulating everything I already knew, I thought, let's try to have a life a little bit easier. And a few months after that, we decided to have our little house. We transformed it in a homestead. We grew everything from ducks to fish to cows. We had everything. And at some point in 2018, I had a heart attack. And everybody was convinced that was way too early, that was completely stupid, out of the blue, and that such kind of an event makes you think. If that not makes you think, you really an uninspired, stupid. So I had enough time afterwards to think about my life, to think what is here, what should remain, what I have to let go because the natural forces, the power, the how long you stay awake, how powerful you can swing your axe to split firewood, it's reduced after a heart attack. At least after a heart attack as the kind of I had, because my cardiologist confirmed afterwards that I had more or less 45 minutes to live. So we live more than 30 minutes away from the next hospital. You can imagine how my wife that night drove to the hospital. She broke every rule available. She saved my life, pure and simple. And afterwards, that I was always thinking in patterns, in ecosystems, because that's what I learned from permaculture, the principles, the natural laws of permaculture. I was very well aware of them. And I tried to apply them to my own life. And from there, that was the starting point in my activities to coach. We started with volunteers on our homestead. We built some accommodation to host volunteers. I learned a lot from them. I learned about their problems. the hustle culture everywhere. If you don't made it by 40, you're dead, and that kind of stuff. It was a horrible eye opener that. Hey, guys, when you go that way, you will land like I did, AK in a ER bed in the middle of the night, and that was the starting point.
Yeah, I can understand then because I am a little bit familiar with permaculture because my husband and I are slowly building a greenhouse business. So I do understand some of these concepts, but the thing that I understand about permaculture is that at least here in North America, a lot of people, if they have a nice garden, they put a lot of effort into keeping it that way. They're mowing their grass, they're putting certain flowers and stuff like that, but the concept behind permaculture is that you basically build your garden in a way that everything kind of helps each other, right? You put certain plants next to each other because they're going to help each other grow. You, instead of just pulling out all the weeds, you look at, why is this weed there? What is missing, or what is there too much of that's causing this weed? So it sounds like you have basically taken those principles of permaculture in how can we make all of this kind of serve itself and make everything flourish so that we don't have to be picking at everything. And you now have found a way to apply that to business as well.
Exactly. To personal lives and businesses, yes. So I give you an example, if you allow. One of the strongest principles in permaculture is observe and interact. So, as I told you, I'm a lazy guy. I had plenty of time to observe. I observed not only my life, my past, I observed also my environment and my friends and my friends of my friends and their lives and their businesses. I had really a hell of a lot of time to have discussions, to really observe, to write down what I saw, what are the problems these people are struggling with? What are the always coming back problems they are fighting every day? And that gave a bigger picture. And observe and interact is then interact. I understood in the sense of asking the right questions. So, as an example, a busy woman, a family woman, two kids. Please tell me, Monica, as an example, why do you have to give your two children in the kindergarten? Why are you not at home and homeschool your kids? Yeah, and then we had discussions and so on and so on. I was not eager to convince anybody, but I was eager to learn about their problems, their struggles.
The limiting beliefs they might have about why
Exactly.
they don't feel how they want to feel.
Exactly, yes.
Right, right. So you said and I noticed on your website, you said that you like to focus on helping people in their 40s. Is that like a personal choice for you, or have you just found a common problem with people over
That is
40?
that is also an observation I made. Until your 40s, people, me included, most people never think a lot about prevention. Prevention in health, prevention in how will life be in my 60s, in my 70s, whatever. Nobody thinks about that. But after 40, after 45, not only are there some chances that you already have a little bit back pain, you are stressed, your sleep maybe is not that well as it was in your 30s, having a party till morning 4 o'clock, let's go to bed at midnight, it's safer, and that kind of stuff that starts after 45. That's why I was concentrating at the beginning mostly at that age group. But meanwhile, let's be honest, you can have very personal struggles after 50, after 60. Grief is a common problem. The loss of a dear person, a family member, and this kind of things who need support.
Okay. So these people who are, not, I'm sure not all of them are in that age range, but these people who come to you, what are the problems that they're typically dealing with? Are they usually entrepreneurs themselves who are burning out in their business, or what does that typical client look like for you?
They are usually entrepreneurs near burnout or burnout recovering. Because for many, many, the burnout, let it be an easy one, let it be kind of a severe depression, an exhaustion, brain fog, call it whatever you want, but people realize something is not okay with me. And they start, usually after 40, 45, they start to dig a little bit. Hell, what could be the source of my problems? And with that kind of awareness, they go to the internet, and with a little bit of luck, we find each other, and then I try to help, and always try to help. First of all, of course, to examine and to get the bigger picture. Where is this person right now? What is really the struggle, and what is the desired outcome? Not everybody wants to go after a burnout back in business and do the same thing that lead them to the burnout. Some decide, I sell everything. I want to start fresh. Really, some make radical choices. Yeah, and that is all to discuss and to paint a possible path. And it's, I see my job as a coach not in giving advice. I am asking the right questions. I am eager to help them find their own way. I'm not the one that says sell your business and start over. No, but a question could be, when you remember your first signs of burnout, your heart was beating. Is it something that was the outcome of a happening in the company? Oh yes, it was after a meeting. I was so annoyed and so angry about that guy, and then okay, so it opens the mind.
Hmm. Yeah, and that was actually something you said there made me think of why I was interested in interviewing you, because when I talk about this concept of being an inspired idiot, it doesn't have to just always be about business. I think a lot of people kind of try to fit themselves into a life that they don't really want, but they feel like it's what's normal and it's what they're supposed to want. And so I think a lot of people have a fear of going against the grain or not doing what's normal, and they have a fear of trying to create their unrealistic life, the thing that they really want, but they're like, I don't know how to do it. So I can see how with you, you're able to help those people because you have lived that. You have been an entrepreneur for a long time. You know what it's like to be in the game for a long time, but you've also had that moment of, I mean, a heart attack is pretty epic burnout. So you've lived that experience. So you're able to help people from a place of conviction, not just something you learned on the internet.
Exactly. And maybe you remember my publication on Substack is called The Fearless You. So we are talking a lot about fears, not only the obvious ones like fear of getting sick or fear of burnout. Sometimes it's much on a subtle level. It's fear of being replaced, fear of a future where AI is making me obsolete, fear of fear of future in general. Not a lot of entrepreneurs, I can tell you that they are more than unsure what will be in 2 years. So there is a lot to discuss usually. Seeing the human life as an ecosystem led to my own mindset, which with I'm working with my clients. The mindset is called the regenerative farmish mindset. Farmish is an acronym. Farmish means freedom, authentic, authenticity. That's a very difficult word for a non-native English speaker as like me, and relationships, money, inspiration, obviously, sustainability, and health. And together we have the Farmish acronym. When I try to help somebody, when we agree to have a detailed look into his life, and I can tell you that behind every entrepreneur, behind every strong leader is at home a simple human being, a simple man, a simple woman, sometimes completely the opposite as they play their role in the business, but still they are an ecosystem. They play with their authenticity. They have relationships which are not on a common level or depend too much on boundaries or the lack of boundaries. It's a very, very interesting thing to see a human life like a garden with its own patches, its own fenced zones. It's very interesting. And then the natural laws and the holistic principles, they play their role in it. And so I can help open eyes. I cannot help change lives overnight, but it's a
Right.
process.
And I can see how with both like permaculture and gardening, but also working with people's business and their livelihood, there is like with the farmish acronym that you mentioned, there's a balance that people need because your result is not just more money. You know, money is one of the words in the acronym, but it's relationships, it's authenticity, and something I would be interested to get your perspective on. I have found in entrepreneurship, a lot of people's burnout often comes from that lack of balance and like they're trying to make more and more money but they're sacrificing their authenticity and they feel like I don't know who I'm becoming in my business or they're losing their relationships. So even though I think sometimes people have this perception that success means more money, and you realize once you get to that more money place that it doesn't feel successful like you were telling yourself it would. So do you find that that is a common problem that your clients come to you with, is feeling like they're out of balance or they've lost their self in the pursuit of business?
Absolutely, Casey. That's a very important observation of yours. And the most common problem is not authenticity, at least not for very experienced business owners. Usually not, because they are too long in the business. They know who they are most of the time, but they play with their health. The health issues are usually the bigger ones. It starts with a little bit of overweight, then we have a little bit of insulin resistance, then we have blood pressure problems. The doctor puts you on statins, the problems get bigger, and so on. So it's a chain that starts somewhere. It's not only and most often authenticity. It has usually health. Very often it's a inspiration problem. They succeeded in so much elements of their life. They lack purpose. They what's next? For what I am doing that? I don't have children. I don't have nobody anything for heritage. Why should I go on? So it's very interesting and very, very different. It's always almost we start every time at point zero.
I can see how with like if you are focusing on people who are, 40, 45 plus, they maybe have already gone through that season of the authenticity kind of ebbing and flowing, because something I've noticed with a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've met in their 20s and 30s is that where they feel like they start to lose their authenticity is they get really caught up in the game of business and in the pursuit of success. And I mean, even like I've experienced this where when I started, hitting my income goals with my business, I started just ignoring the fact that it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it was making money. And so I felt like it felt like I had to really push myself to do that work because it wasn't authentically what I wanted to do. I didn't want to get up and work on it every day. So I think that's where there is something really important to talk about in entrepreneurship, in not completely losing yourself and your values and your integrity in the pursuit of success.
Yeah. I'm a very big fan, honestly, of simplicity and also minimalism. Not in the sense that I'm not going anywhere, never in holidays, never in whatever. I'm very, how can I say that? I love luxury. I love good food. I love nice a house and but I see absolutely no sense in living with my wife together in a house of 10,000 square meters. That was never my goal. That was I could achieve it when I wanted, but I never wanted. And I live a very, very simple life. On an amount of money, you would be amazed uh, because I grow most of my food in my own garden. That reduces your costs already. Another thing is I have no mortgage. My house is paid. Everything I own is completely paid, and I have no debt at all. No costs in the sense of bad surprises. I have a little bit of real estate that gives a little bit of income, and the rest is more or less fun to work. I have not the goal to make $50,000 a month. I see absolutely no joy in that game, especially not by losing my health in that game. That
Yeah.
is most often the case, and that's at stake.
Yeah, that I think you hit something really important there, because for me, I'm a believer that if I want, like if I'm looking at somebody as a mentor, or if I'm considering hiring a mentor, I it's not only important to me that that person has achieved success in business, because if I see somebody, for example, who is a very, very successful business person, but they've been divorced 6 times and they're overweight, well, I don't know that I want to learn from that person, because I don't know that I would want to live the life they've lived to get to where they are. And I think that for me personally, if I don't have my relationships and I don't have my health, then the money is probably going to mean very, very little. But do you find that that's something that you see a lot of your clients struggle with, is that they're chasing like financial freedom, or it is very money driven?
It's obvious we live in a very money driven world. It is proclaimed in every magazine you open, on every social media. The comparison virus is a very strong one, especially for younger people. The constant comparison, when they open Instagram, Facebook, whatever, they see people much more successful as they are, and most find motivation in that to achieve what others have. What I see as the back of that coin is the health struggles, and health struggles are very, very hidden sometimes. You know, as you can see, I'm not overweight. I'm relatively okay for my age, and but you have to know I lost more than 60 pounds. So my heart attack had well-known roots. So it was not a complete surprise in the aftermath of that event. And I find it quite disturbing that the hustle culture is pushing people twice a day to the gym, to the smoothie in the morning, to the whatever in the evening, and they don't see the intoxication they have during the day. After the gym, what are you doing? You have a shower. You take your shower gel, your hair shampoo. You put, without knowing, 100 chemicals on your say.
Skin. Skin.
Thank you. Yes, on your skin, and the skin is our biggest organ, and it absorbs almost everything you put on it. And so it is quite laughable to chase with the gym, with the jogging, with the yoga classes, with whatever you are doing. It is it is it, it it cannot lead to a sustainable health when you forget to give the other things in detail your observation. You put chemicals in your body, and your body is your energy source. You have only that one. And when you fail at maintaining that energy flow from your own body, you can chase success as much as you want. At some point, somehow, it will get its revenge, and usually an ugly one.
It makes me think of that. I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, but I heard a phrase recently that when you are healthy, you feel like you have 1,000 problems. And then when you have something come up in your health, all of a sudden you only have one.
There is another one, also very famous. In the first 40 years of your life, you make as much money as you can, losing your health, and the rest of your life, you try to regain your health by spending all the money you made before.
Interesting. I haven't heard that one, but that's good.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a sad one, but it's often with a lot of truth.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about using permaculture principles beyond the garden, like in people's business, in their life. So what is one like permaculture rule that people should apply to their business or even just their life, but they're just not thinking about?
For example, thinking in patterns and going always from the bigger picture, your bigger why. When we are talking about business, the typical hustler, the typical solopreneur, let's say, in today's world, in our Substack world, he is fighting daily with details, editing blog posts, editing the best notes he ever wrote, making the right banner color, the brand design, and everything that. And then you ask, but where you want to reach? What's the desired outcome? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? In 5 years? There's often an open mouth and not really an answer to that question. So, permaculture teaches us to think in bigger pictures. You have to have your bigger why. Why are you doing this all? And then you go reverse engineering to the last and simplest and the little details.
Okay. And
That
you
is
said
that is one
looking for
application. Sorry.
and that's okay. I said you said something about looking for patterns in life, right?
Patterns, because we have also seasons. We, as you know, nature, we have the weather patterns, we have the seasons, very clear indicators of rest and growth and uh, going down back to the roots in sense of storing energy for harder times, whatever that means in your business. And if every business has a kind of season, there is no business in the world that is going only upwards. It's impossible. And adapting to that season to see that these patterns will come, that is an ability not every business owner is capable of.
Right, right. I could see, yeah. It's making more and more sense to me now how permaculture and kind of gardening principles apply to life as well, because it's life, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all life. Interesting. So what does like when your clients work with you, what does that typically look like in practice? Like if somebody were to sign up for your 12-week program, the return it's called, what could they expect from working with you?
So first of all, we will have to know each other a little bit better. Of course, I need some insights in your daily life. I need the report of your nutrition, for example. This is usually one point. Right at the start, because if you tell me after a week that you eat only at McDonald's and KFC, and your last salad was 3 months ago, then that is giving me some indications what could be the problem. So then you tell me about your struggles. The last stairs you walked was 2 weeks ago. You take always the elevator, and the gym. Yes, you paid, but you weren't there for the last 3 weeks. And it's your side of the life that gets my interest, not judging, only reporting. And after all, it's your life, it's my client's life. It's not my job to say that is not good, you are very very bad person. You know what I mean, Kelsey? It's only observation. It's only, and then we start to see within the farmish mindset, within, where are the rules, the natural rules and laws and principles that are actually not respected in that picture of you. And that gives a very, very clear indication that you are fighting against nature at some point in some elements of your life. And fighting against nature, as bad as it sounds, it has a price to pay. Always. Always. It's not always health issues, stroke, a heart attack, whatever, but it has a price. It can be depression, exhaustion, divorce, children who don't know you anymore. It has many, many, many faces. With that acronym, with that mindset in mind, seeing in all parts of your life, and checking, there is a principle. Your seasons, in what season are you actually now? When you tell me, as an entrepreneur, I founded my company 6 months ago, then it's clear you are in a growing season. It's not time to rest. Obviously not. Now you have to push it. How can I support your pushing season? And that is the question you have to ask yourself, or in that case, when I'm mentoring somebody, that is the question I would have to ask.
Right. Okay. That actually brings
So it,
up
it, it makes it a little bit clearer. Is it understandable?
yeah, yeah, it is. And I think you brought up, you made me think of something there that I think is something good to talk about, because I think burnout can kind of look different for different people. So we don't always know when we are burning out because there's not one clear symptom of it. Something that I've experienced is, I think a lot of entrepreneurs relate to, they leave their 9 to 5 job because they want more freedom. And then their business becomes like a 24/7 thing. And they burn out from just grinding and hustling so hard on their business. So, how can somebody know if their business is draining them and if they are going to burn out, or if they're just avoiding hard work? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes totally sense. It is usually a very thin line, and yeah, it's usually very hard, and especially self observation is even harder, because you are in your rhythm, you are in your daily grind, and it's very hard to step outside your body and say, wait a minute, let's have a look at that. Is that really what moves the needle forwards? Is that really the way to go? Or when it, if it is, long can it be? How long can I go the way I do it? Because at some point you will have an energy problem, and yeah, it's hard. That's why I know it sounds like self promotion and coaching everybody needs, but sometimes the single most and best invested money you can have in your business is to have somebody who has absolutely no insights in what exactly what you are doing, but he can observe you. He sees you. He observes like how you write your email, how you write your messages to me, how you express yourself when you speak about your family or about your business or about your children. And that is the and I'm trained to listen. I'm trained to see these patterns and this little vibes and emotions. And to do it all by yourself, it needs usually a massive event that stops you completely. And that is not what you are wishing for, believe me.
Right, right. But I think why, I imagine at least, why a lot of people get to that point is because they don't give themselves permission to rest. Like the
Exactly.
example that you gave of somebody being in the first 6 months of business, yes, it makes sense that that's not a rest
Absolutely.
period for you. But I think a lot of people then they go so long without taking a rest period because it is like hustle culture. We're always thinking like I need to be moving faster, I need to be working harder. So, I guess how can somebody, let me step back. I've heard a lot of people use the term nervous system regulation. And I think some people do understand what it means, but I think a lot of people don't. So how can somebody tell if they are avoiding rest and burning out and they're dysregulated in their nervous system? What would be a way that people could tell?
For example, by knowing exactly what is your North Star, what is the needle moving towards, what is the desired outcome, what is the bigger why. When there is a very, very clear definition, and I mean a clear definition, a written one, and then you can go back at any moment in time, at any moment during your day. You take that book, you open it, you read, and then you can decide, okay, now the next goal for this month is having that income limit. That is what I want to achieve. What brings me best and easiest to that goal? And maybe it's indeed an hour of rest. Put yourself on the couch and do nothing. People today have lost the ability to do nothing. Be bored at once a day, at least. Really. It sounds horrible, I know, but I recultivated in my life boredness, doing effectively nothing. And it's very funny, and there are many jokes from comedians about female and male at home, and she asks him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Nothing." For a woman, it's incomprehensible, and for a man, it's the truth. He's not even lying. He's doing nothing. And to cultivate that is an art. I am very fortunate to learn that art again, relearned it, and I'm very, very sure that my neighbors, they call me all crazy. They see me during the day once or twice for an hour walking through the little village, around the forests, whatever, with dogs, without dogs, with my thoughts in mind. And what they don't see is that afterwards, an hour of such a walk, of such rest, I can work 2 hours in a very, very deep state. I can write an article, I can edit an article, and sometimes even work on a new digital product, whatever. It lets me be very, very focused. Without that walk, which obviously looks for outsiders like he's a lazy guy, who the hell has the possibility 3 p.m. to walk in the afternoon? uh, I have that kind of freedom. And it's, by the way, it's not a coincidence that the acronym of Farmish starts with F for freedom and ends with H for health. because I am absolutely convinced that these two words are the most important things in a human life. When you have no freedom, when you are in kind of a prison, be it a self-made prison or a real prison, but lack of freedom is one of the things nature cannot handle. Look at how animals act when they are catched. The feeling of being imprisoned, the feeling of being in a cage is unbearable for most beings on that planet. And same is with health. You have everything until you don't have your health anymore. And that is also a very, very limiting border you should not cross over.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So going back to when people come into the 12-week program with you, you said that the first thing you do is you observe their lifestyle now, their nutrition, and then do people like are they typically meeting with you once a week, or is there like a protocol that you take them through during those 12 weeks?
We have not a strict protocol because, as I mentioned before, everybody is completely unique. The circumstances are always completely different. I have a guideline. Let's say we have between these 12 weeks, we have 2 weeks of kind of come home to yourself. I call it like that. That means being aware, who the hell am I actually? Who I am seeing from somebody who doesn't know me and my life. What does it mean for somebody outside of that border? And that is the part of coming home. Yes, that's me, and that are my struggles, that are my goals, that is me. And then the second part is kind of trust yourself again. That is usually the part when we see that some actions led to authenticity problems, lack of boundaries, be it in your family, be it in the business. Things like really trust yourself with new skills, probably. I had business owners who started not with the garden, but who started to make woodworking just to relax, to calm down, to really get to the basis, to work with real materials, with wood, with stones, with whatever it is. And discovering new abilities, new skills that gives such a powerful push in confidence. It is always amazing, even for me, and I have seen many, many breakthroughs in that direction. But when you have confidence, you are becoming unstoppable. And unstoppable means not going like a cow in the hay stock, but setting goals, realistic goals, knowing yourself better because you know exactly what you are capable of in the good and in the bad meaning. Learn also your own borders. When do I get so mad that I could punch somebody? That is an important observation. And then the confidence is then to know, first of all, it needs very, very much anger. I can control that anger. I can redirect that anger like a river would be redirected. So you see, usually use a lot of natural discoveries, a lot of natural examples to explain what is actually happening in our bodies and in our brain. And the third phase is then starting to make a plan to have the whole thing together, but in a sustainable way. So at that point, you already know the direction you want to go. You know your capabilities and skills that lead you there, that will help you go there. And then you ask the question how to do it in a sustainable way, because nobody wants to go full power, turbocharged the next 3 months, and then zero. That is not the way to go. That is not the way nature is working. In nature, nothing goes overnight. There is a, a but there is a single flower in the world, a single plant that is going in one night in flower, but it's a single one.
What is that one called? Do you know?
No, I don't know by no. I'm not the English name. No, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
And
okay.
then
But people, go ahead.
no, no. And then the last 2 weeks are settling down and make all that stuff the new habits. That is then the foundational thing to do. So we know exactly where to go, how to go, with what energy and power, and then let's do this in a habitual way.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. And that makes up the 12-week
That
program.
makes up the 12 weeks. And always it's connected with an accountability program which works separately. I hold you accountable for your sayings, for your goals, for your things you promise to yourself.
Okay, cool. So can you this doesn't have to be a example with a lot of details because I'm sure you want to maintain your client's privacy, but can you give an example of somebody who came into either your program or working with you and you used your skills and your permaculture principles and can you explain like kind of what change they experienced after working with you?
I can tell you about a recent family. They was contacted by a wife, and her husband, in her words, was absolutely mobile addicted, and that became, for the family and for the business, it became a huge problem. He himself, he did not observe that problem. He was the businessman. On the outside, he had, or still has, he has a construction company. He's here from Romania. I won't say any names, but it, he has a company around 30, 40 employees. Big shot on the outside, successful, big Mercedes, and nice house and family twice a year into Caribbean holidays and all the luxury you want to show when you are in that stage of life. And she contacted me. We knew each other already from other clubs and meetings, and she told me the problem. And then I asked her, she should observe him. What is going on actually? And she told me, and she made, actually, she made entries in the journal. And he came home completely exhausted usually, and with the head still in company, as many entrepreneurs, because it's hard to switch. And he came home, he was on his handy, he called it, I am relaxing. And you know the drill. 10 minutes relaxing ends in 3 hours without even knowing it. He missed family dinners. He was not even present for, he was completely la- lack of presence. And the trigger moment was actually a very sad moment when you look it from the outside. His wife told me then at a phone call, and she told me, you see, he came home. He went on the couch. He was on his Facebook, whatever, TikTok probably, because that's even more addictive. And the little girl, 7 year olds, came with some housework, a nice painting, and so on. She was very proud because she gained a prize in school for that painting, and she wanted to show it. And he didn't react. He was completely absent. And that was the trigger moment. That was the moment his wife snapped. She really snapped because she saw it. She snapped. She not in front of the children. That was the very good part. But she put him beside and said, "Listen, you have to do something because that is first of all not the man I've married, and that is not the father of the children I wish for them. And we have to find some kind of solution." And then slowly we started. I went 2 days with him in the company. I was all time with him, 24 hours almost. And I made my observations, I made my journals, and we started to talk. It's not a phone or not. It's just stabilizing and making the boundaries. When is the moment? And there are little possibilities you can memorize in your phone at which hours the phone is going down. You don't have any chance to use it. And these little things we implied first for 5 minutes a day, then suddenly it was an hour a day. Then it was at the time he usually came home. At that time, no phone anymore. Phone in another room, little things like that. And obviously, when you spend so much time with somebody, when you observe his interaction with others, with his children, with his wife, then you can also imply some actions and possibilities in all the other elements of his human being, of being present. Inspiration. At one point, I asked him, but actually, your company, you are now 50 almost. What's the goal? Until when you want to be in then permanent grind? And we started to make a plan to exit and to sell the company, and then this is all ongoing work, but he has a goal now.
Okay, okay. That's a really good example because I think that a lot of people I, at least I used to have the perception that coaches were always meant for like business people to help you earn more money. And so I think a lot of people look at coaches and they think, what's the return on investment I'm going to get? Or is there a monetary goal? But you're doing much bigger work sometimes than just getting people to a next dollar amount. You're potentially saving marriages and families and
Yeah, sometimes yes, it's going in that direction, yes, and sometimes it's going in completely different direction, unexpected directions. I had a case, a younger woman. She was only in her end 30s, but very very confused in a sense that she wasn't happy at her job. She did it to pay rent and but nothing else, and she had no idea what to do besides. She had not a big uh, circle of friends and no real hobby. At some point, I don't know actually what led me to that question. I invited her, come visit our farm, come stay for a week on our homestead, be my guest, our guest, learn about what healthy good food is actually. My wife is a excellent chef and knows to cook. My son actually gained the genes for that. He's also a chef in a five-star restaurant in Romania. And so we hosted her for a week here. She learned everything what is in a spring season to do on a homestead, interacting with the animals. She was taking care of the rabbits and little things like that. Guess what? We are knowing each other now for, let's say, 5 years. 2 months ago, she called me. She bought a house. She completely changed her job. She was very happy. She was very happy to have found a job where she can only work part time because that is enough for her lifestyle. and she has now a little house, relatively big garden. Good luck with that. And yeah, she's full of plans and very active in a growing community around her, all gardening lovers and enthusiasts, and she made her way.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, I mean the service that you provide to your clients goes beyond just a dollar amount or spending less time at work. It's transformational, and you are able to do that because you have lived it yourself and you've gone through that and you've built a business, but you've also hit that point where you realized this isn't sustainable for me. And I think that that hits on something that I think is important because there are so many different types of coaches out there today. People are coaching in all kinds of things. So do you feel like as a coach, like it is your kind of responsibility to coach people on what you have actually experienced, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a tricky question and a trap. No, no, it's very very different when you are looking for a coach that teaches you how to sell better, how to make more money by selling better. There are several steps you can learn, you can put into the work, the action. The outcome is foreseeable. You can really work on that. A coach like that, I am absolutely convinced, and I have seen them with my own eyes. There are coaches 25 years old, absolute pros in selling. There is nothing against that. There are the same coaches, young, 25, 30, whatever, productivity geniuses. They teach you everything about how to become more efficient, how to use AI, how to use every every tool and app you that helps you to get your productivity up. Perfect. I honor them. I help them when I can. I even send them my clients if that is the problem. A little bit different. I see it when we are talking about life coaching or business coaching. Business coaching in a sense of clarity and purpose for my business. Where am I in my business? Why I am here and where do I want to go? That is a little bit different than productivity or leadership. There are many excellent leadership coaches. They know how to form, to glue a team together. They are capable of the impossible afterwards. Absolutely, it's fascinating. But life and human lives are a little bit different, in my opinion. I wouldn't dare to ask a 25-year-old life coach what to do with my life when I am at a certain point, let's say later in life. It's a little bit tricky. And so uh, I have also my sometimes my little problems and doubts about holistic coaches. Most of the so-called holistic coaches never had dirty hands in their life. So, what is holistic actually? Holistic means you work with every element on that planet. You work with stone, with water, with dirt, with soil, with your coat on when it's raining because it's outside, because you have to observe that pattern on your field. And things like that, I have my doubts that somebody without the needed experience really can have the insights to go to the root cause of the problem. Would not say they can't spot the problem. They can, but maybe not the root cause, because the root cause is that experience that I've lived, others lived, and that gives you the holistic context.
Right. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you for giving me that perspective. That is helpful. There are certain things that if you're going to coach on it, it's I think it's important to embody it and,
Yes.
have that conviction in the experience.
Or talking about Substack writing coaches. The writing coaches, it doesn't matter how the age, that you can write as a genius in your 20s. We have several examples for that kind of genius. Others becoming better after 50. We have a lot of examples of that. So it's absolutely possible. Life coaching, maybe I'm a little bit limited in my horizon, I don't know, but it seems to me that you need to have overcome your own struggles, your own, I'm my way wasn't anything simple, really not. I was My parents doesn't come from, I'm anything but rich. So we were middle income family, easy. I had, as a young adult, a very deep depression. I was on meds for that. I had my financial struggles in my 20s and 30s. I had everything, and over that, credit cards and death, and everything bad you can imagine in a human life. But I know what it takes to get out of that. And when you are 25, you don't know yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. I get what you're saying. It makes sense. If it would be hard if you're somebody who's 50 years old to hire a life coach that's 25 and half your age. You're like, well, I've lived double the life that you
Yeah.
have. How can you help me? Yeah, yeah, that makes
Also,
sense.
there are many, many coaches and very successful coaches who are helping, especially with grief, with trauma situations. How can you talk about these things when you never experience them? I find it completely impossible, because you can study Carl Jung as long as you want, but at some point it is your experience that matters. What emotions you had at that point, at age 25, at how many funerals you were. Hopefully not at that much, but at age 50, 55, 60, automatically there were more. Hopefully not that much. It's the way of life.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the last couple questions that I always like to ask people is if you could give one piece of advice to people who feel like inspired idiots in that they want to create the life that they actually want and they don't really know what they're doing, but they're just figuring it out. What is one piece of advice that you would give to those people?
Maybe it sounds weird, but put yourself in the skin or in the coat of an animal, your preferred animal. Let's be a cat, a tiger, a wolf, whatever it be, an eagle, and ask yourself, if that eagle would be me, with my business, with my actual presence right now. The eagle has the oversight. He has the vision for way more. His boundaries are way bigger. Wolf's territories are huge. There are, ho ho, a tiger living in the trees, sees around the jungle. He has a complete other view, but he has the view like nature teached him, like nature made him, and we are nothing else but animals. But we have lost the capability to see what nature actually intended to teach us. So put yourself in an animal, and try to picture your life. Are you more in a cage, fenced in? And if so, by what? Is it your relationship? Is it your family relationships? Is it your mother, your father, your uncle who is not in the picture right now? Or who should be in the picture that you feel better in your cage? And then try to make that territory bigger and find the point where you want to be actually. What is the meaning of your life? it can go very, very deep. It's not a thing of 10 minutes, believe me, and hopefully it is not involved in a health issue that gives you time to think about. Take that time at some point in life and try to figure it out. Even without a coach, it's possible. There are many, many books that are going in that direction. Hopefully, you will find that someday. My book I am writing right now, the book about the farmish concept and the mindset. So I hope in short time I will I can help in that matter too.
So that's a cool way to think about it, like putting yourself in the skin of an animal or something, and then looking at your life with that perspective and that like animal-like curiosity. That's a
And the
cool frame.
needs, what are the needs? Because we all have our needs, and sometimes they are limited by what? Or are they self limited? Is it because lack of confidence? What can I do to get more confidence? I was very lucky in my childhood. Confidence was given me on the way by learning things I couldn't imagine before. I know the feeling how it is to sing before 2,000 peoples in a room. I know how that feels. I did it as a 14-year-old. I learned to sing. I'm a classical singer, but I lost the ability, unfortunately. The lung power is not anymore a given. And so, what are the limits in your life? And the animal is an excellent example to discover your actual life. It gives you another perspective.
Yeah. No, that's a cool way to look at it. So if anybody were to listen to this episode and they were interested in potentially working with you or learning more about what you do, where would be the best place to send those people?
Absolutely. The best place is Substack, my publication. You find it with the name The Fearless You or with the handle Sana Terra Farm. As we say, Sana for healthy, Terra, dirt, soil, and farm because that's the name of our homestead where all the story from that coaching has the beginning.
Okay, cool. I will plug those links in the show notes. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now, but thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. The time has gone by very fast. So thank you. It was a good
I have
conversation.
no idea what time it was. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, to talk to you, and thank you very much for the occasion and the possibility.
Thank you. My pleasure.